Luke chapter 15. We're going to read the whole thing, verses 1 through 32. If you don't have your Bibles, that's okay. We're going to have the words on the screen for you, so just follow along on there. Luke 15, starting in verse 1. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and the teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness to go search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and who haven't strayed away. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she will call in her friends and neighbors and say, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. To illustrate this point further, Jesus told them this story. A man has 2 sons. The younger son told his father, "I want my share of your estate now before you die." So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed up his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all his money in wild living. About this time, his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods that he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, 'Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. So please take me on as a hired servant.' So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. And filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son.' But his father said to the servants, 'Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get the ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. Kill the calf that we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found.' And so the party began. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields, working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. 'Your brother is back,' he was told, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return.' The older brother was angry, and he wouldn't go in. So his father came out and begged him. But he replied, 'All these years I have slaved for you, and I have never once refused to do a single thing you told me to do. And in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf.' And his father said to him, 'Look, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day. For your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found.'" And it almost sounds like he just left the story wide open at the end. He didn't wrap it up with a special meaning. He didn't make it all make sense and put a pretty bow on it. He moved on after that. to a completely different story, a new thing. And I think what Jesus was inviting the audience at that time to do was say, okay, where are you in this story? Where are you? Who are you more like, the younger son or the older son? And I'm hoping that tonight we can kind of put ourselves in that story, because he wasn't just talking to the audience listening right then. He was talking to anyone who might hear his teaching. Jesus' words were not only important back when he was walking on earth. His words are important today. His words make sense for our lives today. They may not have had AI. They may not have had cell phones and social media. They may not have had high school as we know it. But his teachings still matter, and they still change lives today. And so I'm hoping we can learn from that. This is one of the most famous stories that Jesus ever told. Even like non-believers have probably heard this story before, as Christians have talked about it, or maybe some clip on social media. It's a story we love talking about. And I think it's a story we love talking about because it is easy to understand. Jesus didn't have to say, here's the secret underlying meaning to what happened. It's plain and clear that whenever somebody who is lost is found, there is celebration in heaven, and there should be celebration on earth. We learn a lot about who God is and his grace through these stories. All three of these stories that we read point to his goodness and his grace. And Luke decides these three stories are important to share because of what he says in verses 1 and 2 of chapter 15. I'm going to reread it to you just to remind you. There were tax collectors and other notorious sinners that would often come to listen to Jesus teach. There was this community of people who were considered not very religious. They were kind of the people nobody really wanted to hang out with. They were sketchy. They would probably, cheat you if you were doing business with them. They were not good people, but they would often come to listen to Jesus teach. And so the Pharisees and the religious leaders, they're not okay with that. They're complaining that Jesus was associating with these sinful people, even eating with them. Y'all remember a couple weeks ago we talked about how Jesus was sitting at the table with some of these Pharisees and religious leaders? And the table wasn't just, I'm repeating a point I made back a couple weeks ago. The table was not just a place to enjoy a meal together. It was kind of this thing of like, here I am. Here's my social standing. Here are people that I want to be friends with. It was more of a political event than it was a meal that you just kind of ate together. And so for them, they were like, okay, why would Jesus try and eat with people who are sinners? Wouldn't that just be social suicide? Wouldn't that just basically make him not worth bringing to your table if he's sitting here eating with sinners and all these other people? And so they were confused by that, and they were kind of annoyed by that. I mean, I'm going to bring it into modern terms for a minute. Imagine you walk into Olive Garden, because I know all y'all love Olive Garden, right? Anybody not love Olive Garden? Because I can kick you out right now. Okay, good. We're good. Imagine you walk in Olive Garden, and there's these two, you walk in, and there's a huge table on the left, huge table on the right. That table on the left, you walk in, and I'm sitting there, and the student pastor from Living Hope sitting there, and the student pastor from Real Life sitting there. All the student pastors and all the lead pastors, we're sitting at this table together, and we're talking about theological things and righteous things and how to pray well and how to follow Jesus the right way. We're sitting here talking about that. And then you look to your right, and then Jesus is at this table, and he's at the table with all these corrupt politicians, with the homeless people off the street, with people who spend their weekends spending all their money at the bars. Like, it's very clear these are not pastors. These are not religious people. And you see Jesus sitting with them. That was kind of what was going on. It was like, okay, why isn't Jesus sitting with the religious leaders? Why wouldn't Jesus be sitting with Jesse and all the other student pastors and all the other pastors? Why is he sitting here eating with all these people that aren't religious at all, that don't follow the rules of the Bible, that don't care about what he has to say? That's what these stories are getting at the heart of tonight. Because while we as humans might feel one way about it, God and Jesus feel differently. And if I have to make a choice tonight, if you have to make a choice tonight, I hope that you want your heart to look more like Jesus's than mine as your student pastor or somebody else's as a pastor in town. So in this first story, I'm not going to reread all these stories. We're just going to take a point from each of the stories that we can kind of apply, okay? And I meant to put them in the slides. I didn't put them in the slides, so just listen carefully if you're a note taker, all right? In his first story, he talks about a shepherd with 100 sheep. And one of the sheep wanders off, and the shepherd decides, I'm going to leave the 99 sheep that are staying together and go find this one sheep that ran off, that strayed away. And when he came back, with that sheep after finding it, after rescuing it, there was this celebration. And Jesus says that there is the exact same thing happening when a sinner, a lost person, repents from their lifestyle of sin and turns to God. There is rejoicing in heaven. The angels in heaven throw a party because somebody decided to turn away from sin and follow Jesus. That's awesome. And Jesus says that happens every single time. This story teaches us, the first story about the sheep, teaches us God does not just maintain the flock that stays. He rescues the one who strays. That's my pastor point of the night where it rhymes, okay? So that's my one pastor point. The rest aren't going to rhyme and be all pretty. But God does not just maintain the flock that stays. God, in that story, it's not the one ran off and God said, well, I got 99 others to take care of, so maybe he'll come back if he can find his way. No, he leaves the 99 and goes and finds the one to bring it back. That doesn't mean the 99 are forgotten about. That doesn't mean the 99 are not taken care of, because he can take care of them to go and then find the one. It's not that he forgets the flock who is remaining faithful and staying, but he goes and he finds the one. He doesn't just maintain the flock that stays. He goes and he rescues the one who strays as well. And that is beautiful, because the one who strays doesn't necessarily deserve grace. If the 99 are together and it makes sense and they're safe and they're being taken care of and the one strays, well, that's on them, right? Wouldn't that be what you think? But God says, no, they're still worth pursuing, even when they stray. In the story, the shepherd goes, finds the one, and brings him back. He didn't go and find it and then stay where it went off to, but he brought it back to the group. And in the same way, God goes outside of this church walls and this church family to go and find those who have strayed from him. God is not only worried about us because we decided to come to youth group tonight, and so we're the faithful ones, and we're the good kids who actually care about Jesus, and so he's going to focus on us. That's not how God works. He cares about this, and he loves this, and he's going to bless this, and he's going to take care of us, but he is also going to go out every single day, outside of this youth group, outside of these church walls, and find the ones who have strayed away. He's not ignoring the flock. He's providing everything we need, but he's not going to focus solely on them. Now, I have to address something real quick. There is something I've heard a lot of us say in this youth group before, and I understand why we say it. I understand the heart behind it, but I have to say something about it, because there's something we say about this youth group, those of us who are here, that is not in line with the heart of God. And we're going to miss out on a lot if we keep saying these things. Some of us here have said, or maybe you've heard somebody else in this room say, I like how small our youth group is. I don't want it to change or get any bigger. Some of us have said that before, and I get it. I understand that what we have is special. We kind of feel like a diamond in the rough a little bit. Those of us who have been here a while, it's like, dang, why wouldn't, anybody want to be here, right? Like, it feels like something is missing. Like maybe we're not marketing well or something. I don't know. Like, it feels that way, and that's special, and it is cool. When I first got here 4 years ago, there was like maybe 10 middle schoolers and high schoolers a week, maybe. And then a year and a half ago, I think there was, or maybe it was 2 years ago, like the back to school thing, there was like almost 70 students here. And it was like, what happened, right? And it was cool. And now we're kind of at like the 40 number right now, and that's fine. But some of us, we get that heart. We're like, man, this is cool. Like, it's not too big, but it's not too small. It's not like what everybody else is doing, but also it's not like a little rinky-dink country church and all this stuff. We're kind of in that happy middle. But I need y'all to hear this. God's desire is that every single student in the Clarksville, Montgomery County school system would be in a youth group and be in a church and be following him. Did y'all know there's over 20,000 middle and high schoolers in your middle and high schools, including the online school, including homeschool, all that stuff? Over 20,000 middle and high schoolers live in this city and in this county. And God wants every single one of them to be either here or Real Life or First Baptist or Hilldale Baptist. But for me, or for one of us to say, oh, but I really like it small, like I really like what we have here, what I'm basically saying is, I don't necessarily care if we reach all 20,000. I don't really care if all 20,000 follow Christ and are saved. But that's not how God feels about it. So am I supposed to feel how I want to feel about it? Or should I partner with God and his vision for every single student in this city and partner with his mission to try and make that a reality, to help heaven meet earth here and in every other church in Clarksville? His desire is that every single student in Clarksville would be found and come home. He rejoices with his angels every single day when a teenager in this city gives their heart to Jesus. And we're called to be rejoicing too. New faces in a growing youth group does not mean that you are cared about less. In the same way that God took care of the 99 and then went and pursued the one, he's going to take care of us. If we had 300 students in this room and every single chair was filled, guess what? You're still going to be taken care of. You're still going to be poured into. You are still going to be ministered to. You're still going to be known by name. You're still going to be loved and cared for by us, but also by God. If all 20,000 students in this city came to know the Lord and love him and joined a youth group, guess what? God would still have more room in his heart to pour out love because it's never ending. We have to quit thinking small-minded when it comes to this youth group because it's not in line with God's will for his people and his children. All right? And I'm not saying that to call anybody out. I'm just saying, like, it's a reminder. It's even a reminder for me. Sometimes I feel like, man, I like the, 50 number. Like, that's a cool number. I still kind of know all y'all. I can still kind of keep up with what's going on. It's not too big yet. That's small thinking of me. And I'm not partnering with God when I do that. So I challenge you tonight, quit thinking about youth group as something you want to stay the same. I'm going to give you one example to kind of make this make a little more sense. Picture a fire station, okay? Firefighters kind of just hang out at the fire station until the bell starts ringing. So imagine this, all the firefighters at this station, they're sitting there and they're in the most intense game of Monopoly. They are deep in the game of Monopoly, like they have worked for a couple hours to get their properties. They're putting hotels down. It's getting serious. And they got burgers on the grill and they're wearing their comfy clothes and they're in their comfy couches. And all of a sudden that bell starts ringing. They have two options, don't they? We would expect them to take the option of drop the Monopoly game, shut the grill, get on the truck, and go save who needs to be saved. That's what we would expect. But how weird would it be if they said, one of the other stations will get it. It's fine. It's okay. We'll let one of the other stations get it. No, this game is so intense. Let's just finish this game, and the next time the bell rings, then we'll go and save somebody. Then we'll go and do what we're supposed to be doing. That sounds so stupid, doesn't it? Like, I'm not paying you to do that. I did not make you to do that. You did not go through the training to sit there and ignore the bell when somebody needs help, when somebody needs saved. We are just like those firefighters, guys. And whenever we say this youth group is just perfect, this is the right size, we're ignoring the bell every time it goes off and God's saying, hey, there's somebody who needs you. There's somebody that I'm going to use you to help save. Not that you're doing the saving, don't hear me say that. Jesus saves, but you get to partner with him as people come to know him. For me to ignore that bell is just as stupid as for a firefighter to ignore the bell and say, another church will get them. Another church will get them. Somebody else down the road will take care of them. Whenever they graduate and then they go off to college, then they'll find a college minister and then they can help them out. We can't do that, guys. We can't. That is not partnering with God. All right, I'm off of that. In the second story, the story of the coin, he talks about a woman who loses one of 10 coins that she has. But the woman doesn't just stop and say, oh, well, guess I got to live with 9 coins now. All right, well, I don't know where it went. Guess I'm going to, can't buy that special thing I always buy on the weekend with my one extra coin I got. That's not what she does. She gets up, she lights a lamp, and she turns everything in her house over. She searches every single nook and cranny. She starts sweeping under everything, trying to find this coin. And eventually she finds it. And she rejoices with her friends saying, I found it, we're good, everything's fine. The moral I think that Jesus is trying to teach us with that story is that God's not just going to look for the lost one, he is going to search everywhere for the one who is lost. In that story, the woman turned everything over. She searched everywhere, in between, under, above. There's a worship song, Reckless Love. We don't do it as much, it's a little bit older, but the bridge of that song says, there's no shadow you won't light up. There's no mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. And that's the truth. That's kind of the heart behind that second story. There is nowhere that God is not willing to go to seek the lost, to save the lost. He is willing to turn everything upside down and search everywhere for the lost. He's not too proud to stay out of the dark places, and Jesus wasn't either. Jesus was eating with tax collectors, prostitutes, ritually unclean people that had these transmittable diseases, everybody in between, and he never apologized for it. He very easily could have hung out with only the pastors and the religious leaders, but he knew that was not reaching the ends of the earth. That was not reaching the lost. They were lost in a way, but he wasn't reaching the lost in every way. We, in the same way, we have got to get off our high horse sometimes and start being more okay going to the places nobody else is going to find the lost and help them be found again. If I want to partner with Jesus and God, I have to go into the places that nobody else wants to go. In the third story, the most popular, Jesus uses it to show us what God's grace looks like in action. Now, I want to share a couple little things about this story just to help it make a little more sense, because culture back then was a little bit different than culture today, okay? There are things, if I don't understand how culture worked back then, I'm going to miss a part of God. I'm going to miss an aspect of God because the culture doesn't translate to today, okay? So, as we know, when somebody passes away, they leave pretty much everything to their kids, right? They usually split it pretty evenly. If I got 3 kids, I split it in thirds and give it to them. If I got 2 kids, split it in half. This son, in the story, he had asked for his portion of the inheritance that was coming to him early. He asked for it before his father died. Now, for most people during this day, for the son to come up and say, hey, I want my inheritance before you die, that was the equivalent of him saying, I wish you were dead so that I could have my money. I care more about the money and the property and all that stuff that's coming to me than I do about you and your life. It was basically like a backhanded slap to his dad saying that. But he asked for it in this story. And so the father gave it to him, and the son left. He spent everything that he had just gained earlier than he was supposed to, and he spent everything with people he wasn't supposed to be around. Shortly after that, he was broke. There was a famine, and he needed a way to eat so that he wouldn't die. That's usually how life works, right? We're supposed to eat so we don't die. And he had a choice, either get a job to try and feed himself or go home and be fed by the father that he had just wished was dead and abandoned. Those were his 2 options. Figure it out on his own, fill his own stomach, or go to the place that he had just abandoned where he knows his stomach can be fed. And so he tries the first option for a while. He starts working for this guy, and even the pig slop looks good to him because he's not eating enough. But he's still not even getting fed. The pigs are getting fed before he is. That shows how low on the totem pole he has become. And so finally, he gives in. He comes to the realization that he cannot provide for himself everything he needs. So he goes home, scared, worried, humbled, ready to go from having the most prominent status in his home as a son of the homeowner to being at the bottom, to being a slave, being a servant. But it was his only hope at life. It was his only chance now to survive. And during this time, when a son did something like this, when a son would abandon his father and basically backhand him by saying, I wish you were dead, there was this ceremony that they would do. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but there was a ceremony where the entire community, not just the family, but the entire community would actually perform this ritual where they'd throw this jar down at the person's feet as a sign of saying, you are never welcome here again. You're banished. We don't ever want you here anymore. Pretty intense. He was never supposed to be welcomed home again, this son. But it was his last shot. I either go home to my dad and ask to be treated like a servant, or I die of starvation. So listen to this. When his father saw him from a long way off, he ran to him, embraced him, and kissed him. During this time, men of status and dignity, men who were kind of prominent in the place that they were at, they weren't supposed to run, okay? Because in order for a man to run, he would have had to pull his cloak up and kind of tie it up, and it would have been a humiliating thing for his legs to be seen, and not only for his legs to be seen, but to be seen running to somebody who is ceremonially on a lower pedestal than they are. in this son who had just abandoned him, and it's like, he is not welcome here anymore. He mistreated you. He is a terrible son. You should just disown him. He runs to him as a man who has prominent status, as a man who has this kind of upstanding character in the society he's in. He runs to him. The father in this story, who represents God, I hope you get that by now. The father in this story, he set aside any sense of pride or social standing that he might lose, and he ran to meet his son because his love for his son was more powerful than the opinions of the people. I'm going to say all of that one more time because that is so powerful and it is so important. Because that's how he sees us. When we're lost, that's how he sees all of the students who are lost around you. Listen, the father in this story who ran to meet his son, he had set aside any sense of pride or social standing that he might lose, and he ran to meet his son because his love for his son was more powerful than the opinions of people. Can I tell y'all something tonight? If you don't hear nothing else, if you're tuned out right now, tune in for 2 seconds and listen. God sets aside any sense of pride and any sense of losing social standing to run and to meet those who are lost. Because the love he has for you and for the lost is more important than the way that the lost people feel about him. God has every reason to be proud. God has every reason to say, I'm not running to you. You can walk to me. He has every reason to act that way, but he doesn't. Because he loves you more than he loves the opinions of people. Isn't that amazing? And isn't that good? That is grace right there. And he shows it to all of us every single day. Like the shepherd who found the lost sheep and the woman who found the lost coin, the father celebrated the return of his son by saying he was lost, but now he is found. New identity, new shift. I'm not going to sit here and hold this against you. We're moving forward as father and son because I love you, because you matter to me. But the next moment is where we find ourselves, usually those of us who have believed for a while, been in church, raised in church. The next moment is where we see ourselves, usually. The older brother, he's been around the whole time. He watched his son take the inheritance early. He watched his brother take off. He hears about him spending all this money unwisely with people he's not supposed to be around. And the whole time he's working for his father. He's remaining faithful while his brother goes and wastes everything that wasn't even supposed to be his yet. The older brother, who had stayed without taking his inheritance early, was working in the field all day for his father, and he was returning home when he saw what was happening. And he wouldn't celebrate with his father that his lost brother had returned. So the father goes out to greet the older brother. In the same way that he went out to greet the younger brother who had betrayed him and ran away and was coming home, the father ran out to meet him. The father comes out to meet the older brother too. That won't come in to the celebration. The father comes to meet both sons, the one who abandoned him, the one who remained faithful. And the older son begins to rant to his father. He says, "This son of yours," during his rant, rather than "my brother," which kind of shows us that this older brother has completely disassociated himself with this younger brother. It's not, "I can't believe you're throwing this party for my brother." It's, "I can't believe you're throwing this party for this son of yours." That's how much he is irritated with his younger brother. How much he wishes he didn't even have him as a brother. But his father reminds him that every blessing he owns is still for the older son. Throwing a party for the returned younger son didn't make the service and the faithfulness of the older son less important or worth less of a reward. Some of us, sometimes we feel like, I've been in church, I've been singing the songs, I've been reading my Bible, I've been praying, I've been doing all this stuff. And God's going to show this person who followed him and then went out and partied and did this and did that and did this and with this person and whatever, and then they came back. We get shown the same grace? How is that fair? I'm the one who's sitting here putting in the work. I'm the one sitting here praying. I'm the one sitting here spending time with him, choosing not to do those things because I know that's not what he wants from me. We catch ourselves in that spot all the time, y'all. But your faithfulness is not less important. Your faithfulness is just as important, and there is still a reward for it. And the story's left open-ended after that. so that the audience can decide where they fit in the story, what they needed to do next. I'm about to wrap it up. 3 points to make about this third story. Number 1, this is a story about God's grace towards the lost and the faithful. The third story is not just about God's grace for the lost one coming home. It's also grace for the older one who was too stubborn to come and celebrate with everybody. There is grace for both. And for y'all, guess what? If you're lost and you're coming home, there's grace. And if you are a bitter older brother in this story, there is grace for you too, which is beautiful. Both sons had to be shown grace. The sins of the younger brother needed to be shown grace, but the response of the older brother also needed to be shown grace. The younger son had the wrong actions, but at the end of the story, he had the right heart. While the older son, he had the right actions, but he had the wrong heart. Both of them needed forgiveness and grace. Number 2, this is a story about the overwhelming nature of God's grace. The overwhelming nature of it. It does not make sense. It does not make sense why God would do that. Like I just said, God should not have run to meet the son who did all those things to him, but he did. He said, I don't care what they think. My son's coming home, and I'm going to meet him. And it doesn't make sense. It's an overwhelming nature of God's grace. He wasn't afraid to do what seemed shameful or wrong. He showed grace in a way that nobody else would. It's awesome. And then last, this is a story that you need to find yourself in. All of us, every single one of you right now, you're like one of the brothers. You're like the older one or you're like the younger one. So my question, are you like the younger brother, running from God, taking what isn't rightfully yours? Or are you like the older brother? Are you judging the younger brother, trying to earn your father's affection through your faithfulness? Are you like the younger brother, running from God, taking what isn't yours? Or are you like the older brother, judging the younger brother, trying to earn your father's affection? My hope is that you leave tonight knowing this. I don't want you to just say, yeah, well, I guess I'm the son that's coming home, or I guess I'm the son that's trying to prove my worth and prove my faithfulness. I don't want you to stop there. My hope is this. For those of you who are like the younger son, you may have run away, but God is ready to welcome you home and give you everything you've been trying to fill yourself. That is awesome. If you have been running from God, if you have been sitting here abusing the grace, the gift of grace that he's given you, you can come home tonight and he will fill you in all the ways that you've been trying to fill yourself. In the same way that the younger son was trying to fill his stomach, he had blown it all. He wasn't even being fed before the pigs were being fed. And he was trying to figure it out on his own before he went home. If that's where you're at, guess what? God can give you exactly what you need to fulfill you and to bring you life if you will come home to meet him. But if you're like the older brother, this is my hope, that you leave tonight knowing that God doesn't love you more because you're faithful while others aren't. Just because you do the right things does not mean God loves you more. That's not how this works. But your faithfulness is being rewarded and will be rewarded. There is a reward for being faithful. Otherwise, what would we do? We would all just sit here and sin and sin and sin and sin and sin, and then, oh, I'm about to die. Let me ask for God's grace before I pass away, right? That's not how this works. Faithfulness has a reward, and you're earning it now, and you will be earning it as long as you remain faithful. God doesn't love you more because of it, but you will be rewarded because of it. So I encourage you with that tonight. Whatever it is, wherever you're at, be real with yourself and understand that God's grace is for you and that you can have a completely new, fulfilled, awesome life if you will just accept it and walk with him forever and ever. Again, there's 20,000 students who are not in youth groups who don't love the Lord like they should. So are you going to go out and show them the grace you have been shown or not?